Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Retry policy here. In today's video guys, I'll be trying to create a JWT Authentication token using Express, TypeScript, and maybe just JSON Web Token, right? Without any further ado, let's get started guys. So what we need to do right now is to come here and initialize npm init -y. Right, so now we want to initialize our node produce. So this has been initialized, so you're going to get a package.json file here, which is actually good. I'm just going to come here and create a source folder. All right, and in the source folder I'm just going to come here and then just say server.tx. all right, so which is good. Now nothing is going to work. We're going to install something. So we're going to say npm install. All right, first I want to install Express. Okay, so while that is installing guys, we have all the packages that we were going to install after that, right? So we want to install all of these. We want to install Express. We want to make sure we install all the TypeScript packages that we'll be needing. So on npm, all right, for install npm install, okay, -- save -dev. So firstly I want to install TypeScript, right, and then I'm going to install /types /node. Did I say types? Okay, /node, and then install /types /express. Right. We also want to install tx-node. We want to install nodemon for starting up our package, and then we want to install last one is the the JSON Web Token type. So we want to say @types, right, / not @types / all right, that's the thing you want to do. You want to say JSON, okay, JSON Web Token. So these are the packages that we need to install, okay, for dependencies. Just gonna press enter and let it load up. So when that is done, we're gonna see them a new so it's gonna say dev dependencies, okay. And while that is running, we want to set up a few things in our package.json file that's going to allow us to run script, right? So I'm just going to come here where it says test, and I'm going to remove some things out of it. So here I'm just going to come here like this, right? I'm just going to delete that for now, okay. Now our packages has finished installing, so I'm just going to come to my main, and then I want to say it's now in my src / and I called it server.ts right now, not js, okay. That's the first thing we want to do. You want to come here we want to have maybe just one for now, dev, okay, dev. And in the dev I want to say, okay, what do I want to do here in the dev? I want to say ts, okay, -node. All right, that's the first thing I want to say, ts-node. So ts-node to what is what you want to ask yourself, okay. But now since we're going to be using nodemon, right, nodemon is a package that allows us to run these things and without making any we don't want to always restart our server. When there's a new change, immediately it's going to watch it, right? So nodemon should watch. So nodemon -- what watch. So nodemon should watch. What is nodemon going to watch? It's going to watch our src folder, right? When it watches our src folder, right, it then wants to do some want to do some things when watching it, okay. And then we'll come here and say ts, all right. Then we want to execute execute, right, tx-node, and then here the file or the source folder where we want to see it source / what we call it server, right, .ts. Okay, so whatever you call your server here is what you're going to call it here, okay. So I'm just going to save it real quickly, and when that is done, I want to come here to my to Gladys, right, and let's say npm run dev. So I'm just going to press enter. So it's watching. So we don't have anything now, right? Say unknown. We don't have anything running. Let me go to my server and say console.log. Hello. Okay, before that, guys, before that, we want to do something. Before we do this, okay, we want to say npx, okay, txc-init. So we want to initialize this. Okay, let me clear this up quickly. So npx. So this is what this is going to do is it's going to give us a ts config file. All right. So npx tx-init, and I'm just going to press enter here, and we're going to let it load up. So we have a new tx.config file, all right. So this is a little bit too much. I'm just going to copy this and just do something very small so we can all see how that is going to work with everyone. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to have a compiler option. So I'm just going to come here and say compiler options. All right. Now what's the compiler options that I want to have? Okay, that's a bracket over there. I want to say the target. The target here is EX 2016. You could set your target to wherever value you want to set it, which is fine. I want to have my emoji to be because I want to use, you could do command.js. Okay, then come here. I want to say my root directory. Where you're going to see my root directory from? You're going to see it from ./src. All right, and then I want to have my output directory. So where do I want if I'm going to put it for dependence for development, where should it go to? I want it to go to a dist folder. So I'm just going to come here and say /dist. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is say yes. Okay, module interloop, and then here I want to set it to true, and I want to say force consistent file name. Yeah, maybe we could do that. Okay, and then here I want to say strict, set my strict, true. Okay, and then here set we've already done that, so I want to say strict to also be true. Okay, and here skip lib check, true. Okay, then we want to come here afterwards. Let's close this, just delete this. Okay, so afterwards here put a comma here. All right, now I want to include, what do I want to include? All right, I want to include all of my src. So src, my bad, src, all right, slash everything in my src folder that are nested. All right, so that's what this means. Include everything in my src folders in every nested levels that you find them. Okay, and then I just want to come here and say comma, and then I want you to exclude what you want to exclude. I don't want you to always try to do anything in my node modules, right? And when you're done, also in my dist folder, you have no business in my dist folder. Okay, which looks good to me right now. I don't know if it looks good to you, but I think for now we look good. All right, so let's save this again. Let me clear this folder and then say, CLS npm. I was trying to find it, npm under. Okay, so we see that running hello, which is good. Okay, now the next thing we want to start doing now is we want to do some imports. Okay, we want to import. What do we want to import? We want to import with Express. Okay, sorry, I want to say import Express from Express from Express. Okay, and then when I do that, I want to also come here and import its types. All right, say imports. Okay, Express from Express. Okay, and then I want to say const app. What the app will be a type of Express, which is equals to what Express like this, which is good. Okay, let's see if we have an error here. Okay, no error, which is good. Okay, so we initialized Express. So now I want to come here is I want to say const. I won't be using a .tmp, so just work with what we have, speed, right, 3000, and then I'm just going to come here and say app.listen, not link, app.listen to what's the port. This is going to take two values, the port and what I wanted to run. I'm just going to say app.listen to the port here, and then I want to come here and say console.log. Okay, here I want to say console.log. Okay, and then here I say server running at port dash, and then we're just going to come here and say port, which is good. All right, so let's see if we'll get server running here. Okay, so which is working. Right now we want to push in some endpoints. Okay, I'm going to be using REST clients. All right, you can use anything else you want to use. So I'm just going to come here and say test.what REST. Okay, here we go. Anything REST. Let's just do it like this. Okay, this is what I want to be using. I'm just going to close my package.json here. Close the tx.config. So close these. All right, then we have these. All right, let's quickly test endpoint. So after to use, I want to go to slash. Let's just go to slash, and then what I want to do here is I want to get my request, I want to get my response. Then you also want to get your next, okay? And then here I want to say rest.send hello from Express. Okay, hello from Express. So now we're testing the endpoint to see if it's working before we do anything. Okay, so I'm just gonna come here and we're going to go to get, right? Get here is what? Localhost, right? Is it localhost? Localhost, you know what? HTTP // okay, localhost, I think it's 3000. Okay, this is where we want to go to, we're just going to slash. Okay, so we'll send a request and see what happens. Say hello from Express, so we see that our endpoint is working. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is we want to simulate some things. We want to simulate dummy folders, dummy users. Okay, so I'm just going to come here and say we have some users. Okay, so dummy users, so an array of users. So we're just going to come here, we're going to have an ID of 1. Okay, and we're going to come here and say maybe full name is Mark Smith, Mark John, some not good at names. Okay, and then just come here and with the email to be some email. Okay, Mark at gmail.com. Okay, then we also want maybe the password to be say number 1, maybe a string 1 2 3 4. Okay, let's copy this a couple more times. Okay, and then paste it and paste it. Okay, I think this should do. Right, so 1, let's change the ID here to 2. All right, and say here is maybe Claire something. Okay, and then just come here and say maybe MC, right, 1 2 3 4 5 this time around. Say if for more. Okay, and then something like that, and then you just come here and say if for more, say maybe something like this, and then say 1 2 3 6. Okay, so we have dummy users that we want to be using to test. So let's just come here quickly. Rather than sending this, let's send a JSON response to rest.JSON. Right, and then in JSON here I want to say okay is true. All right, and then I want to say the message maybe we want to say users should be what? Users. Okay, so here now we want to go to /API / we want to get all users. Okay, so we're using use here, we're going to say npm let's get. All right, good. So let's test it again one more time. Here I'm just going to say return this guy, which looks good. So let's send it. So this now changes to /API / users. I'm just going to put my API. Okay, / all users. So it's going to return all users to us. Okay, so looks good. Right, so now let's say we have a login page where a user tries to log in. All right, what happens when the user tries to log in? That's the first thing we want to try. Okay, so we want to say app. Okay, dot. Now in the login you want to get the password and maybe email. So say post. All right, and then here we want to say what /API / what the login endpoint. Okay, and then command you want to say here you want to get your request. Okay, command you want to get response, and then you want to get your next. Okay, put this here. When you're doing this, if you have an error, you can always import them from Express. You can always come here and say a type of request. You can always say a type of response, and then you can always say a type of next function. Okay, so if you do this and then you've been getting an error, so you can always do this, and then you just come here and make a change, and then you just say here is going to be a type of request. All right, and this guy is going to be a type of response. Right, and here you're going to be a type of next function. Okay, so if you can, you can always do this. Right, now when the user logs in, all right, I want to say const here. I want to get something from the request.body. Okay, so what is it I want to get from the request.body? I'm going to be expecting the email. Okay, going to be expecting the email, and I'm also going to be expecting the password, right? So when that comes in, the first thing I want to do is I want to validate it to say, okay, does this exist in the users? Okay, you're using a database in your own. I'm gonna say const is existing, okay, something like that. Does user exist equals to now from the users array, right? From the user array, let me click on the user array. I'm gonna come here and say users, okay, dot. Now I want to find something that's unique from the email. Okay, so I want to say for each user that you send, okay, check for the one that's the user, okay, dot email is equivalent to my email that I'm going to be receiving from the user. Okay, if it's existing, if there's a user, or now we want to check if there is no user, it means that you don't exist. You need to go sign. Okay, and then we want to return res.json. Okay, we don't have to do status code right now. Just want to make sure we quickly go through the phase and go through where we use JWT, right? And then we want to say res.json. Okay should be false. Okay, case for the backend, and I want to come here and say maybe a message, and then say user does not exist. All right. So let's go to API/login and use a fake data. So now this is going to be a post. So we could just, duplicate this guy here, right? And then maybe come here, 1, 2, 3, right? So now here that's posts, all right? And then say API/what login. So the post now is going to expect some data. So here I want to say content type. Right, the content type should be application/JSON. And then here, the body, what's going to be in the body? I want an email. So I'm just going to come here, email, maybe some email that does not exist. Okay, d@gmail.com. Okay, and then also I want a password. Password should be let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, right? If I save this now and I send a request, okay, we have an error of, I don't know where the error is coming from. Let's see where the error is coming from. So we have email, right? Here we have /API/login. Okay, if that's not existing, let me check. Let's come here and check if we even get the email. So console does log. Okay, I want to say, do I get the email? All right, so I'm going to go back here and let that one load. Okay, and then I'm just going to say it's a post request to API/login and content type application/JSON. Okay, I know what, guys, we need to read the body data. So we haven't read it. I'm just going to say app, okay, dot use, not link, use. Okay, so I want to be able to read the JSON data, express.json like this. Okay, you could do some other things, set your rate limit and all of those things, but we don't need all of those things now. This is enough, guys, for us to work with. Okay, so let's try this now again. So this should work this time around. Okay, so I'm going to send it. So you see, say user does not exist. Okay, now, but what if user exists? Okay, so I'm just going to take a user that exists, mark C, or this one here. I'm just going to copy this guy here, and then I'm just going to paste it right here. All right, save it. All right, now this user exists, so we should see the user existing here, and then we don't get anything. Now let's undo that if the user exists. Okay, now if this user exists, is existing, all right, the next thing I want to do is I know you're existing. Let's even return a message. So return res.json. So here you could add status code if you want 200, right? But here I just want to say, let's just add status, just this one. Status is 200. Okay, and then you say the JSON object here should be say our OK property is true. Okay, and then also we have, sorry, my dogs are making noise, so there'll be a user object here. So we're just going to pass the user object. So we say user, so we what is, so this is going to return back that user to us. And then maybe a message, okay, and then you say login successful. All right, Now let's go back here. All right, let me reduce this a bit, and let's send back that request. Okay, you see we've gotten that user back, full name Mark John, and we have a login successful message. Now we want to implement our JSON, okay? Because now we don't want to send this like this to the user, okay? This is going to be very bad, okay? We want to be able to like encrypt it, okay? Maybe at this point in time, we just want to send the ID, right? We want to say if it exists, dot what ID, maybe something like that. That's what we want to send to the user, but we also want to encrypt it, okay? So in case the user want to, go into some of the authenticated routes like the dashboard. Now we want to make sure this is the ID. We want to make sure okay that user doesn't get to the authenticated route if they don't have a token assigned to them. Okay, so let's go back to our package.json and see if we have JWT Web Token installed. Let me clear these, okay, and open that again. No, we don't have JSON Web Tokens. I'm just going to close my server real quickly. All right, so I'm going to say npm install. It's going to be JSON, I think JSON Web Token, okay? JSON Web Token like this. This is the package that we are going to be using for JWT. So you see we have JWT here, which is good. So I'm just going to close this now. And then I'm going to come here in my source folder. I'm going to create a middleware. Okay, so middleware is going to help us to handle the authentication part. Okay, so is auth. Okay, you can call it anything you want, but yes, all right, this is just a convention for me. Before we do that, okay, we can try to implement some things here before we do that. Okay, so I'm just going to come here at this point here and I'll say import, okay, JWT from JSON Web Token. Now the JWT here is now going to encode the data. How do we want to do that? So we want to come here and say const, we need a secret. So JWT secret. So this in production, this should be your env file, but I don't want to prolong something or just my amazing secret. Please don't steal. Okay. So now here, I'm just trying to, this here would have been something, very hard for anyone to guess. Okay. And then here, when you do that, then you want to say const now the token. Okay. The token. Now this is where the whole thing comes into play. You want to say JWT. All right. Dots. Now JWT dot what? I want to sign a token. Now this sign is going to take in some argument. It's going to take in the payload, okay? What you want to be in the payload is going to take in the secret, and then it's going to take in some options, okay? Now the payload is the data that you want to send. In my own part, I just want to send const payload. My own part here, the payload I just want to send is the user ID, okay? Is existing because the user ID will always be unique dot ID, okay? That's the only thing I want to send right now. That's the only thing I want to send, okay? So I'm just going to come here. Remember, guys, the payload. Okay, so we want to send the payload. So the payload will be this one here. All right, come on. And we need the secret, which we already have to be JWT underscore secret. And then here you can add some options if you want. Okay. No much of our disco user. Let's just say user payload. See what's happening. Okay, I don't want us to do too much TypeScript, so this video is not going to be longer than it is supposed to be, right? You know what? Just do payload here. Then here I'm going to come here. The next thing is I want to add some options. You could add a lot of options here, but the ones you want to use is expires in. Just set it to maybe 1 day. Okay. Now when I do all of this, okay, the next thing is copy my token. All right. So rather than sending this, I won't be sending this anymore. I'll say token should be equivalent to token. All right, since they are the same, you could just remove one and do this. So let's see if we go an error. npm run dev. So I'm running my dev dependencies now. We have a bit of error. Okay, so payload is supposed to be a string, and this is going to be giving back a number. Okay, what we could do is maybe say string. Okay, maybe say string like this. Maybe that would work. Yes, that works. So now I've turned payload now to a string. Okay, which is now get to payload becomes now a string. Okay, so that should fix the server. Oh, server fixed. Nice one, guys. So let's go back to our just REST API and test this thing again. So we always want to test. That's the whole point of being an API, right? So here I want to say send this request now. Okay, so if it's successful, I'm just going to see some token. All right. Okay. Expires in options for string. Invalid expires in options. So let's go back there. So here we said expires in maybe 1 hour. Is it 1H? Maybe it's 1H. Okay. Let's send it again. Invalid expiration options. You know what? I don't think we even need this. Maybe when I'm done, we could figure out why this is not working. So 60 times 60. Let's try that. Now we have a problem again. Okay. You know, we'll just take this out of the picture. We figured that out before the end of the video. So let's go back here, and then server should have restarted, which is good. Waiting for that. Okay, now we have it. So you see we have something here. This is gonna be your token. This is the token that every user should have. Okay, because now when the user, this, now we assume that this user is logged in, right? Now, but then we want to always know, or are you authenticated, before we show you some other things like the dashboard page. Say, let's assume now the user wants to, go to the dashboard page. Let's say this is the dashboard page, API/dashboard. Okay, so if the user want to go to the dashboard page, the user could just go to this dashboard like that. But we don't want that, because if I go back now to this here and say dashboard, this just goes to the dashboard. You see, it goes to the dashboard. We don't want that to happen. Okay, we want to be able to authenticate these users and say, okay, is this user authenticated? If you're not authenticated, I don't want you in my website. You go get authenticated. Okay, now how do we want to do that? Okay, now one thing we could try to do is, now we do everything here, and then we cut it off and put it in the is auth, right? So now what we can do here is, I'm going to come here and say a function, right? I'll say export. Say export. Okay. Maybe export a function called is auth. Okay, and then here I need to have my request. Okay, my response. This is just gonna be like the normal express function. Okay, but now this time around I want to import some things. Same thing we imported from Express. Okay, I want to import my request. Okay, come on, I want to import my response. Okay, come on, I want to import my next function, because we're actually going to be using next function here. I think next function like this. All right, let me just close this one here quickly. And then here, it's going to be a type of request. That should fix it. Here it's going to be a type of response. And here also is going to be a type of next function. Okay, so we successfully fixed that. Now we want to get some things. We want to get the authorization token. Okay, so you want to say authorization equals to request. Okay, that's, you could say request.headers. All right, so the headers you're gonna get here is authorization. Okay, like that. All right, so let's see what happens. Okay, I want us to go through this step by step so we can understand what's going on. Okay, so authorization. There's no point trying to rush. So now I'm exporting this. So I'm going to use this here as a middleware. Okay, so when I go to dashboard, before anything, I want to use my is auth. Okay, so that will be imported. Make sure you import that here, right? So I'm going to go back to our test API and now try to go to the endpoint. So this should give us an undefined. So we have an undefined because we don't have that. So one thing we want to do is we want to be able to, every request should have an authorization from your front end, and then where you have a bearer, and then you have your auth token. So some token which is going to be in our part, which is going to be a JSON token. Okay. So now if I do this and I send the request again, all right, now see what's going to happen. Can you see? It's going to give us back the bearer. So that's one thing we want to do. Okay. And then when this comes in, I want to come here and say const is token, which is equals to, if there's an authorization, okay, then if authorization exists, then I want to say authorization. So if it's not undefined, authorization dot split, I want to split that with a space, and then I want to come here and pick the first one. Okay, you know what, let's split it and see what it gives us again. Okay, like I said, no need to rush this thing. You need to just see how this thing works. Okay, so is token. All right, let's go back to our test.rest and see what it gives us. You know what, I think we should have called this JWT.rest. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to call it JWT. So JWT.rest. Okay, you could call it anything. Okay, so now let's send this again here. You can see now it gives us this as an array. So the one we want is the first one. Okay, so I'll go back here again, and here I'm gonna grab the first one like this. Now this could be undefined. Okay, now watch guys, this could be undefined. Undefined. Okay, so this could be undefined. Now how do we handle that? We want to say if, okay, there is no token. If it's not token, so if there's no token there, if it's undefined, right? You know what, let's just call it token. I think token sounds good. Token sounds like, like a bougie name. So token here, token. Okay, so it's token. So if there is no token, okay, I want to return. Right now you want to say rest dot what, JSON. Now your OK property should be what, false. All right, so your OK property is false, and then here you want to come in and say message. Now you want to say not authenticated. All right, so you are not authenticated to visit this web page. All right, please take note of that. It's very important. All right, for a status of not authenticated. So I think the status code should be 409 or something like that. All right, unauthorized token. So here we could send in a status. Okay, so just come and say dot status here. It should be 41 maybe. Okay, so when we do that now, I want to go back here again. Now let's see what happens now when we go to this guy here without the token. Okay, without the token, I'm sending a request. See, not authenticated, so you're not allowed to go to the dashboard, which is good. That's what we want. Okay, but what if the user is authenticated? Okay, so we want to go back there. What if this user is authenticated? Now we want to make sure we validate the token. So here again, we're going to import, all right, JWT from, okay, JSON Web Token. All right, now I want here now, the next thing you want to understand is JWT helps us to, do something here. What is that thing? Now const decode. So I want to decode the token is equals to JWT dots. All right, now don't use decode, use verify. Okay, so verify is going to take two things. It's going to take your token, which is coming from the front end, and it's also going to take your secret key. Remember our secrets we use, so your secret should be the same. If your secret is not the same, it's not going to work. Okay, so in production, you should use your .env file. So I'm just going to come here real quickly and say JWT token. All right, I just don't want us to prolong all of these things. So the token we get here, I'm going to put my token here. All right, and then also when we do that, we want to say JWT secret. All right, now which is good. Now JWT by default is going to send in if there's an error, it's going to send an error to us. So what we could do here is grab these and then say try catch. All right, so try catch an error, and then I'm just going to put this here. So there's an error, JWT will forward it here, and then maybe we can say return. No, you should know error handling, but here, return JSON. And then we say okay, here should be false and error objects. Okay, all right, let's go back now, and then let's try to log in. So come here, let's log in so we can get a token. Now I'm getting a token. All right, let's just grab the first part here. All right, now in my bearer here, I see I'm not grabbing the whole part of the token, I'm just grabbing a bit of it, and then here I paste it. All right, and then I try to go again. You can see JWT says, hey, look, this is an invalid token. All right, we didn't set that, did we? No, we didn't set that. JWT sends that to us immediately, invalid token. All right, which is what we want. So go back again, send the request. All right, now we're going to grab everything. All right, now we're going to grab everything, and remember this is going to expire in an hour, which is fine. I'm just going to come here and paste this here. All right, so that's going to expire in an hour. So now this shouldn't give an error again. So no error, which is good. I mean, we are progressing. So if there is no error and everything is good, all right. Now I want to set this in a request header, so everyone is gonna have it. So I'm just gonna come here and say request dot user equals to decode. If there's decode, right, dot what, the ID. So we want to pass the ID. Express is going to be TypeScript is going to be very angry. It's going to be saying, oh, what are you doing? I don't understand. So I'm just going to come here, request as any. You should show it. So you know, let's just send decode, right? So now let's see if this works. All right, and then we want to call the next. So this should say, okay, if everything is working good, proceed to the next phase, proceed to the next person, proceed to the next thing in line. All right, so now how do we know this is working? Now when we go to the dashboard authenticated page, which is this one here, now instead of doing all of this, I want to now get the request. Okay, so remember we said request dot user. All right, so const the current user, okay, is equals to the request. Remember, you want to do requests as any. Okay, I just don't want to do something too much. Dot the user. Okay, I want to get the user from here, then I want to save it here. All right, now when we do that, let's see what we have. Console dot log. Okay, oh, let's not do console.log. Let's return, you know, now we've been returning all of the user here. Let's just return only the user. Okay, return only the user object. So now we go back to the rest. All right, this should also still be active. Okay, then we send the request and see what happens. Okay, let's send the request. You can see now, guys, we are getting okay, true, and then we get the users, which gives us 1. Now, I think this is good. One more thing to be sure it's coming from here is say okay, that's users, which is good. I'm just gonna do this. So let's go back to our is auth. So it's authenticated. You can see request as any.user, which is what decode. Oh yes, you know we sent when we're sending, we didn't send all of the user. Remember, guys, we only sent the ID, which is the payload. So that's what we are getting here, right? The ID, which is the payload. If we try logging in with someone else, let's try logging in with this person here. Let's grab the email, okay? And then the password is 12346. All right, let's log in here. So 123 here like this, okay? I'm sorry. No. Let's grab it from here. All right. And then 12346. Okay, so let's try logging in again with this user. So when we log in, we grab the ID. We should be having an ID of so this is 1, 2. Let's change this to 3. So we should be having an ID of 3. All right. After we log in, we grab the token here. We should have an ID of 3. So let's send the request and see what happens. So I send the request now. Okay, true, which is good. Everything is working. So I'm gonna come here and then in my authentication here, I'm gonna paste this. All right. So let's send a request. Can you see we have a user of 3, which is good. So now what we want to do to the user, I want to send this back as a distance. I want to come here and say in the user, okay, const, okay, is existing, something like that, anything you want to call it. So say users. So the users now, you could say dot filter if you want. All right, but if it was a backend, we would say dot find. Right, I want to find it will give us all the user now. Now I want to find the one that's the so we want to find the one that the user, right, dot ID equal to the ID that comes back from the payload. So here, let's just call it the user ID like this, which makes a lot of sense. So grab the one that comes back from the user ID. And then here now, this is going to be is existing, right? So P. So this is going to send back the user, right? So if there's no user, if that user does not exist, okay, so if that user does not exist, we could quickly hand it out, okay, and then we just come in and say return. Obviously this should not even be working at all, but return JSON and say okay, should be, but we just want to make sure and say find message user does not exist. All right, good. So when I save that now, let's go back to our JWT.first. So now when we send this, instead of getting an ID, we should get back the user object. So now this is still active, so we can send the request. So when I send the request now, user does not exist. Okay, is existing. We want to say the one that's the user here dot ID. Let's just call it u, right? u.id equal to user here dot id. I think user here dot id is a string, maybe. Okay, what I could do is say cut this here, right? Pause int, and then I want to turn this to a number real quickly and see if that still works. Let's go back to wait. Okay, if it's not existing, but if it exists, okay, let's send the request again. Look at it, guys. We are here. ID3 full name. Wow, that was amazing, guys. So this is how you do JWT authentication using Express, TypeScript, and Node.js. If you found this video helpful, please guys like and subscribe, and just hit the YouTube bar, which is always coming up, and I would like to post more content. But if you found this helpful, my name is Retry Policy. I'll be retrying till I become successful as a YouTuber. Please like and subscribe, and yep, maybe if this video does good numbers, I could do for refresh token and access token. All right, thank you guys for joining. I'll be seeing you in my next video. Bye for now.